All right. This is Dr. Jermaine Kimball on the Chasing Ambition Network. Welcome to Theory of the Dollar. This week's guest is Christi Hector, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So she is I would say, owner and operator of the Pink Sky Boutique. Is that accurate? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So what we like to do on the show is talk about entrepreneurs who have taken that leap from, leaving their 9 to 5 and, venturing out on their own. And, what I like to do is let people kind of go on their own, talk about, tell us about yourself and how you got started, and then, we'll jump in.
Okay.
So.
Well, my name is Christi Hector. I own Pink Sky Boutique, and Pink Sky Boutique has been around this is probably like year 17 for me. I started off kind of out the trunk of my car and just moved my way up to a retail space like 5 years later, and I have currently been in my retail space for 12 years. So we are online and brick and mortar women's clothing and accessories boutique. Okay. I started off as a shoe store and transitioned into clothing.
Nice. So how did you get started? What sparked the idea? Or
I have always been a shopaholic. I love clothes and shoes, and I have loved them for a while. My first few jobs were in retail with the Foot Lockers and Finish Line franchises because I always wanted some new sneakers, and we didn't have the parents that shopped all the time. So my sister and I got jobs at sneaker stores, and I've just always loved clothes. And I had an aunt who actually had a consignment boutique, and she kind of introduced me into the wholesale world.
Okay.
So that was it. So I've always been like a creative hustle girl. I rhinestone hats in college and created all kind of hats and real crafty, and I could probably sell you anything.
Okay.
That was my skill. So working in the retail, the Foot Lockers and the Finish Line, I love the merchandising aspect of retail, and it was just like a natural thing to me. So being around clothes and shoes and selling things, it was natural. So that was the initial spark. And then at some point, I was like, I want to own a shoe store. So I had a friend in high school. We were supposed to do a shoe store together, and it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. So it kind of forced me to kind of roll into my own thing, selling like accessories on the side. So we did bags and accessories, and then I started venturing into shoes, and that's kind of how Pink Sky was born.
Okay. So, all right, I want to go back a little bit.
Go back.
Yeah, right. So you were working for someone else at this time?
Yes. When I made the initial jump, I was working at a law firm. And I did that for like 5 years. That's when I came back from my Vegas adventure, jumping out into the real world. But I came back and I was like, let me got a job at a law firm, and I was kind of working and trying to figure out this whole Pink Sky thing at the same time, and just started doing little things here. Let me go buy some accessories, and then we'll sell to friends and family, and just doing little things like that to kind of get me into the real retail world. So at that point, I think I started doing accessories, and I was able to start selling shoes. I would go to trade shows and things before I even actually had the business started, to just kind of learn the lingo and figure out what was going on, because the young lady and I that we started together, we did a lot of things together, but when it came down to like really buckle down on the business that we were trying to do together, it just it didn't happen. So at that point, going to the trade shows, I was learning like, okay, this is how you buy this, this is how you buy this, and now you're in the boat by yourself and you just have to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the shoe thing for a while, the accessory thing. I traveled, I was mobile, and I had to figure it out my way. You know, everybody doesn't have the funding to really jump into a retail space.
Right.
My cousin, and this is gonna age me, had a Jet magazine, and there was an article in a Jet magazine about this young lady in Chicago who had a mobile shoe boutique.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, you should read this. Because one thing when starting, what I learned about with the shoe industry, and it may have been like apparel as well, you had to have a brick and mortar. This was right when people started having websites.
Mm-hmm.
Big box stores had websites, but small stores didn't. So she was like, you need to read this article. This young lady, she took her shoe store mobile. She had like a Hummer. It was wrapped, and she would just go to people. She had a brick and mortar, but business had slowed down. So she was trying to figure out, how do I still continue this business and get it out to the people? And that's what she did. And my cousin was like, well, have you ever thought about doing that? And I was like, not really. I was like, these companies want you to have a brick and mortar. I don't have a brick and mortar. And I was too scared to like jump out there from a financial standpoint. So then we started, that's when the whole website, one of my first websites, I started it so I could get shoe accounts. And it worked. It wasn't the best website when you look back now, but you know, it got the job done because that's what you needed. Okay, I don't have a brick and mortar, but I have this.
Mm-hmm.
And that allowed me to start getting accounts. But the shoe industry was tricky. And I wasn't turning over inventory as much as I anticipated, but I was still shopping. Mm-hmm. So it kind of put me in a place where now you have to make a decision. And like financially, I started my business. I think I saved money, but I also did like a credit card and a line of credit.
Okay.
So when you start seeing everything dwindle down, then you got to make some decisions. And I was like, this is not, it's not working like I anticipated. And I think I was still like being mobile and going out to different events and participating. But my last event I did was at a hair salon off Old National where I live. And I stayed there with that young lady. She rented me space, and I stayed with her for like 2 years, 2.5 years. So I guess the story behind that is you have to figure out where you are and how to make it work where you are. I would always like to, when people ask me now, if you still got a job and you can do your business as a side hustle while you still getting a check, then you need to do that. Mm-hmm. Because I think now we get this false sense of, when we look at social media, that everything is easy and it's a quick thing to do. No. Mm-hmm. No, I've had people come in, I want to open a shoe store. Well, don't quit your day job. You need to figure out how to make it work and get a check while you building your business, if you can. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all don't start financially on the same level, but if you can still get a check and build your business, do that till you get to a point. That's how I feel. And
I agree with it. I agree with it. Feel. And you said a lot that coincides with some of the things other people that I've talked to that really resonates. So, about finding a way to make it work for you and your situation where you are. Yeah. So, which is really good, because a lot of folks that have businesses or want to start businesses, they're trying to figure out how to just, jump all the way in and not have a parachute of, their job. Or some people actually have money saved and, they're trying to figure out how to best navigate, the investment into their business while still maintaining their lifestyle. So, there's going to be sacrifice.
Right.
But, it's still doable.
Yes.
People like you are evident that it's doable, having a plan, though. So, that's great. This is, again, it kind of reinforces other things that we've discussed here. So, all right. And, I try not to look down at my phone a lot because this is where my questions are. So I'm trying to make sure we cover a lot because, there's a lot you could tell us. So going from the law firm to actually the brick and mortar, how did you make that transition work? So I know that you had your online and you developed your accounts, but, when you actually left the job, how did you come up with the numbers that would work for you to be able to leave your job and focus on the business 100%?
So I'm not real technical,
okay,
number savvy, writing it down, having a plan. I think I did a business plan.
Okay.
But when I left the law firm, I moved into the hair salon.
Mm-hmm.
And from the hair salon, it was a good way for me to get out. I could have a place for people to come, but also get out and vend and do everything. And when I first started my business, I sent an email to all of my friends. It was like, give me your friend's email address. I'm starting a business. So I basically started building my email list from that moment. Mm-hmm. Give me your friends, because in my head I was like, okay, if I leave the law firm and I'm going to jump into this, that means I have to do events and do things to make money. Because at that point you're just trying to make money. You don't realize that you have to reinvest it into more product.
Right.
But now it's the hustle and bustle of making, because you don't really have it.
Let me stop you right there. I want to kill an assumption that some people may have. When you were at a law firm, what were you doing? Were you a lawyer?
No, I was a receptionist.
I just want to make sure, because I don't want someone to say,
no,
she had lawyer money, so this would have been easier. So I wanted to make sure.
I was a receptionist and a part-time hustle girl, so I had my little hair game going on, and I was working at the law firm 3 days a week and then braiding hair for like 7 days a week. So yeah, it didn't stop, but that's just me.
Yeah,
that's been me for a while. So yeah, so I saved, what I could, but I still wasn't comfortable with thinking that I could go into a brick and mortar space. Mm-hmm. So when I left the law firm, I did a lot of what they call now pop-up shops. So I would pop up places and do vending events. I've done things like Bronner Brothers, for Sisters Only. Like I did all kind of things like that just to make money, because at that point you in the grind and the hustle. We trying to sell to make money. My last pop-up was at a hair salon of a young lady who I went to school with, and she was like, you want to rent a room here? And my sister was like, yes, because I'm tired of moving boxes. So I started, that was my first time like paying somebody. So I rented space from her, and I stayed with her for like 2.5 years until she told me she wasn't renewing her lease. Mm-hmm. I said, well, what are we supposed to do? I only had like 2 months to pack up. What do you mean? We got to leave? What am I going to do? So at this point, I think I had gotten like a pretty good with my email list, my customers, but now you got to find a space to go. Mm-hmm. Do you have now everything from the bank? Do you have enough money to do that? You got to figure it out. So I probably left her in like January. I did not get a space until October.
Oh, wow.
So I had to, once again, get my hustle game on. I had a friend who sold some very popular jewelry, bracelets, and it was not my customer's price point, but I tried it anyway. And I hustled those bracelets on Facebook. That's how I made my money to get into my shop. And when I say hustle, I came up with a plan. Now that's probably the best plan that I came up with. But how to sell these bracelets and it actually worked, and that's how I got my money to get into my space.
Okay.
So it took me at least 7-8 months to finally lock down and get into a place. But at that point, because I had acquired a lot of customers, I felt like I was ready. I had looked years prior, but I didn't feel like I was ready to pay rent. So I was like, yeah, well, you don't have a choice now. You got to figure it out. So when I moved into my space in October, I think it was 2011, I already had a very good customer base. And that's, I guess, one of the things. Build before you try to jump into a lease or, a space that I can't imagine today going into just saying, hey, I want to open a boutique and then just opening up a retail space and not having any customers. Like, I had customers. I have not had to worry for 12 years. I haven't. I still have some of the same customers that I used to sell handbags and jewelry to, or some that used to come to Old National that still shop with me to this day.
I can tell you that answered a question I was about to ask next. So the question was, what tactics could you recommend to someone who maybe not in the same field as you, but they can apply to their own businesses, and, having your customer base, before you take any big steps is a huge deal. So is there anything else you could think of?
No, I like when I speak to, like, when people ask me questions now or tell me about, or just business people that I meet, I'm like, do you have an email list? Like, to me, I feel like that is the one of the most important things when you starting out too, because if I meet you at an event and I sell you something, I may never see you again. If you give me your email address, you gave it to me because you wanted to stay connected. So you got to build and keep those people and keep those customers and stay connected. Like, now I hear a lot where people say if social media goes down, then you don't have a way to interact with your customers if you don't have an email or a phone number, a text message. You gotta build with the people, or get your people and build them and keep them. I always be like, start your email list. Start your email list, because you'll never see these people again. And you can do that with any kind of business. It doesn't just have to be retail. Our discussion about selling books or being an author. If you push in this book and you go somewhere, and it's cool that you sold them a book, but how you going to get back in touch with them for book number 2? You got to build that list of customers from the beginning.
Okay.
And it works.
I believe it.
It does.
All right. So a lot of people have started, especially like with COVID. Everyone was home and they decided they wanted to start a business. A lot of folks, like I know of several that decided to go into T-shirts. They got a vinyl, the vinyl cutter, and, they had their ideas. And the tricky part with that is, because I know several that saw a lot of success, but the tricky part is exclusivity. What you come up with, you put it on the internet, someone can come along, see your idea, and say, you know what, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to sell on Etsy, or whatever the case may be. So with you having a retail establishment, have you figured out a way to keep your stuff exclusive, or how do you combat that, I guess?
I feel like in the fashion industry, nothing is exclusive unless you are a designer and you're creating your own products. Because at the end of the day, technically, we all shop at the same places. Boutique 1, boutique 2, boutique 3, boutique 4. We all go If we don't go to the same trade shows, we all go to the same wholesale vendors. So to me, I feel like a lot of times people shop with you because they want to shop with you because they have many choices.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to Target, you can go to Walmart and find good pieces if you know how to style them and put them together.
Right.
When I go to the trade shows, I know a handful of the same boutique owners. If I go on the website, on our websites, a lot of us carry the same pieces.
So they're buying into you, basically.
So they buying into you, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They like what you have. And now since everything is so digital, if you don't have it, if I don't have it, then all I have to do is type in this Google picture and find it and see if you have it and I can buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's trusting, if they've bought from you before, trusting your process and, your products and getting them to them. And then they'll hopefully come back. But it's not, nothing is exclusive. It's not.
Okay.
Unless you're a designer. I'm not a designer per se. I think that would be my next move, trying to get into production and manufacturing. But I'm not a designer, so I have to go through these channels. But I do know just because I bought it, 10 other people have bought it. And if somebody wants it really bad, they'll try to figure out how to find it.
But that helps. Talked to someone last week, and he said pretty much the same thing, that people don't buy into the business, they buy into you. So that kind of reinforces that. So what have you done to, I guess, sell yourself to your customer base? Good quality product is one thing, but,
Right.
What you just said, they can get it elsewhere. So what have you done, or what steps would you recommend someone else take to encourage people to just stick with you?
I think with this wonderful world of social media, you realize, I think too, with me having a brick and mortar, that a lot of people, when it comes to fashion, just they may not have the eye. If you put something on a mannequin, I want all of that. I want the whole look. So like for me now, after COVID, I had to kind of jump in front of the camera. And I say had to, I guess I could have technically found somebody to do it. But I jumped into the role of being the face of the brand, and just had to try to figure out how to connect with the customers. I started working with somebody who kind of helped me with branding, and they were like basically telling me like the things that you put out on your social pages can either be like informative, whether you're telling people how to style the pieces, or, your new pieces. Like everybody wants something new, or they want to see new products, but also try to show them how to wear these products. And then I also feel like people want to be entertained, so you have to throw a little entertainment in your posts and stuff. But just trying to show people how to style products, or if I pick this jacket out and I like this jacket, this is why you should wear this jacket, because you can do this XYZ with this jacket. It goes with this. Like, you just have to be informative, and I think that's how I have kind of been like, that's how you connect with your customers now. Mm-hmm. You show them new stuff, but then you got to also show them what they could do with the pieces, because a lot of people, they don't know.
Right. That's true.
They don't.
So, all right. So let's get into that a little bit, just out of curiosity. So when you're styling something, how do you work? Like, some people, like we're both sneakerheads. We talked about that before we started. So do you work from the sneakers up, or do you work from a jacket up, or your accessories down? Like, what?
It don't matter.
Yeah?
Mm-mm. If I see a shoe, then I'll figure out what I can piece together to work with the shoe.
Okay.
Or if I already have a look, it's like, hey, throw some sneakers on with that. Like now, I always try to find looks that people can go from day to evening. So if you had a suit on, or you can take the suit jacket off, your blazer off, and then add a denim jacket and put your sneakers on, and you still kept on the same pants. Like, I try to make it versatile, because that's where we are in this season in our life, in these times. You want to be able to go from work to dinner, or something casual or whatever. So I guess it's just my way of connecting with the customer, because you don't want something that you can only wear one time or for one thing. So that's just been the way that I've tried to figure it out. How do you connect with people and make clothing fun and not so stuck up, but then also make it versatile where they can wear it multiple times in multiple ways. So you can give me any piece, I'll put it together.
That's good.
Throw your shirt, you'll find you some shoes. Jacket, yeah, it doesn't matter.
And I'm sure that will help people that have their retail. I mean, establishments. Like, that's a good way to connect with your customers. And I've never done retail, so that is like, even in college. I got my first job. I was a messenger in Manhattan, and I was one of those people, either bike or on a train delivering packages. And then in college, I worked security at JCPenney's for like years, all through college. So, but retail, I never viewed myself as, I don't want to say a people person, but just I didn't have the patience to kind of, walk through, this is what you should do.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
I think the first job was at a grocery store, and then from there it was Finish Line. And then from there it was Foot Locker. So that's all I know is retail. So it's probably just a natural thing to me when people come in.
And building relationships.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's see. Back to the phone. Sorry. All right, we talked about that. So what role did networking in building relationships play? You talk about, you go to the trade shows and, building relationships with the other vendors. How does that help you?
I feel like it's helped me a lot. Some of the same vendors or representatives, the reps are still around from when I first started, and when I see them at trade shows, I mean, we still talk like we know each other, which leads to, hey, I can let you know when new stuff comes in, or I just think it's a good thing when they learn your face and they really try to work with you. And because now I feel like with these industries, a lot of people connect more personally. Like, some of the sales reps either give you their phone numbers, or like now it's very interesting that a lot of the retail vendors work through WhatsApp. So when you have those relationships with some of those companies, when new stuff comes out first, it's, here, let me text you these pictures. Let me, I learned initially going to trade shows, I would wonder why when I would shop online for pieces, I would never see some of the stuff that I saw in other boutiques. And I was like, well, how does that happen? I know where they got it from, but it's not there. And I learned that a lot of times when you go to trade shows, things sell out and it's no longer available. So to me, that's the importance of going to trade shows, but also creating those relationships, because vendors will either tell you when it's coming back, or you'll get exclusive stuff before it sells. So the networking on that side is very important. And I guess the networking on the back end, with customers and events and stuff like that, that's important too in your building process. And maintaining.
Yeah.
Because some of the people, like I said, customers I've had and I still have, and vendors or even sales reps that jump from company to company, we still communicate to each other.
That's good, because a lot of folks burn bridges. They don't see the long-term benefit in keeping those relationships. So, okay. All right. And all right. So one of the things I'd like to do is to let people kind of, I say that I'm interviewing subject matter experts or people who have seen some level of success. And, I often ask why your opinion matters. So for me to say that you're a successful, retail owner is one thing, but you saying that you've been in business for how many years was it?
17.
17 years. And you've been at your same location for 12 years. And how big would you say your email list is, or customers that you communicate with regularly?
Probably about 7,000 to 8,000, somewhere in there. Email. Text was new. I started that last year, but you have to do it. It's all the channels. You just have to figure out what works for you. But I realized being in that space that not everybody is on Instagram, not everybody is on Facebook. Everybody doesn't want you to have their phone number, so you have to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it works.
It does. It does. So, all right. So basically, you know what you're talking about.
Just a little bit.
Because I never want someone to say, when they're watching this, like, I'm having these struggles and, I don't know who to listen to, because you go online, you can find on YouTube University, pretty much anyone can tell you how to do anything, but there's no credentials to go along with it to say, they know what they're talking about.
Right.
So I like to really drive home the people that I'm talking to do what they say they're doing, that actually have seen some level of success in it.
Yeah, I think too, like after COVID, it kind of made you the pivot and shift were the terms, but it really brought things into reality. Like we shut down for 6 months. So there was nobody walking and coming in the store. So I had to figure it out. So all you had were social media or, your email channels or your text channels to communicate with your customer. Because the majority of my sales came from foot traffic coming into the store. So that 6 months, it made you realize, how do I communicate with these people? And it was also like the products that you were purchasing to sell to your customers weren't necessary because people weren't going into work. So it was almost like a product shift. For me, I had to jump in front of the camera, be the model in products, and then communicating with the customer. So it was like you had to be on those, let's get these email blasts out every week, or we weren't generating any sales because we didn't have walk-in traffic. And I never would have ever thought that I would experience that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I would go up to the store and I would just look around like, there's nobody here and nobody's coming here. So what are we going to do today? So it just made me realize, like, you have to really be on top of those different things in your business. It's more than just, oh, let me open these doors. What happens when you can't open your doors? Then you have to figure out how to get customers. I was fortunate to have had the website up and running for a while. So we did generate online sales prior to COVID, but it wasn't like COVID made us go to total online. So it was different. it was different. Sales were different. Sales were definitely lower, but you just had to figure out how do I catch my customer? How do I entertain? How do I reach my customers? Because everybody's priority is not clothes at this moment. People trying to live. They're not really thinking. So the pivot and the shifting was real.
So what were some of the things you did to keep your customers engaged? You know, they're not buying clothes right now. They're not thinking about going into the office. So
I did a lot more. I think I can't remember if reels were one of the things, because, you know, we go through with the social media. At one time, everything was pretty pictures. Yeah. So you had to make sure you had nice images when you posted. So then we went from images to the short clips, the Vine, the stories, and then it turned into the reels. I can't remember if reels were the thing, but to me, it's still all a form of entertaining your customer. But just being more in front of the camera and recording or reels and stuff instead of posting pictures. I think the stories thing had started, so being more engaging just on social media. Like, I didn't really do that. Not that I didn't do it before, but it was kind of like, hey, let me post this picture. Oh, that's good enough. Let me post this picture. Now it's like, now you got to be more engaging, talking to people, recording stuff. I didn't like doing that.
Most people don't. Before we started recording, we talked about like authors that we know.
Yes.
And I gave the example of, I know a few people who have self-published books on Amazon. They had a great idea, a great story, whatever the case may be. And they put in effort to put the book together and then stop. Like there was the follow-up wasn't there.
Right.
So, you know, and that's with a lot of different businesses, that they have a great idea, they have a great business plan, they have a good product. And, you know, the grind in continuously putting yourself in front of your customers, creating content every day, folks get lazy with it and then they wonder why they're not seeing the sales.
Right.
So how do you find, or what do you do to keep yourself going, to keep creating content? I mean, it's one thing, the monetary part, I get that.
Right.
But you still, I mean, we all have jobs. Well, not everyone, but we all have jobs where we got to get up and get out, and we need that. We sit on the edge of the bed, take that deep breath, and you push yourself for whatever reason. So what's your push to get up and create content, like, continuously?
If I don't do it, then who else is going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And right now, being the face, I mean, I have we have a small staff. It's only like 4 of us. But I just have to shake it off and pump myself up and, like, we got to get it done. Like, a lot of times, if we have a photo shoot, we get a lot of content during the photo shoot. But I'll stay there to the store a couple hours later and try to create content while everybody is gone. Mm-hmm. One, because I don't want everybody looking at me, but
don't tell me you're shy.
I mean, I'm not shy, but like, if you look at my page, like, a lot of this stuff comes like right off the top of my head. I don't have like a creator staff or anything like this. This is all Christi's head. This all, okay. A lot of times, a lot of things aren't planned. I don't feel like my business is not super structured.
Okay.
I always say, a lot of times I say, I wing it, and winging it is not always good, and winging it will drive you crazy, but I do wing it a lot. So I think that's one of the things I would like to get better, just be more structured and have a plan. And I mean, we can buy all of these planners and all of that stuff, but if you don't use it, it really doesn't matter. So that would be myself. I buy the planners, I just I don't plan like I should.
What was the biggest lesson you learned winging it? Like, what can you give me an example of something that went horribly wrong and then something went really well from winging it?
I not necessarily things that are horribly wrong, but when I look back at winging it, if I had a plan, that's just like emails and things like that. If you have a plan, and I know a lot of people plan their content and their, everything out, then they'll know Monday. You can't forecast your sales, but you'll kind of know better numbers. If I send an email on Monday, it may generate XYZ sales. If I, have a plan of let's do this emails and texting, like those are the things that I feel like your content. And like I look at some people's things and they're like, well, we bought and we have all of our summer products already here. Well, how did you do that? Because my life don't run like that. Mm-hmm. We have all of our summer collections together. And then, like you said, I batch or I create content for a couple days, so I'll have it. I think that's when you say, when you ask me, when does it go wrong? Because it's like, well, I don't have anything to post. Or then I'm trying to find myself putting something together or trying to think of something to do the day of or the day before for it to happen the next day. And I think that's kind of
I got you. Like for me, I started doing business consulting, and it was kind of, my mom, she was the one that pushed. She was like, you're doing all this work for these companies, you should consult. And I jumped into it and, winging it, not having a plan. And it was going great. I was bringing in a lot of business. What I didn't have planned and what came back and bit me in the ass later was tax season. So I had all these 1099s and I had no plan in place. So now I have to pay the government all this money because I didn't plan that out. So, when someone asks me what lessons I've learned from winging it versus being structured, taxes.
Yeah.
That was my lesson. So, but, yes. I like that because, what you were saying about planning ahead, a lot of folks don't do that with their content. So, with the podcast, I like to shoot at least 2 episodes at a time. So this way, if I don't have someone to interview, because all of you guys' schedules are like horrible at times. So if I have no one to interview, I at least have one in the can of me on my own, discussing something. So this way I'm not scrambling. And, some folks don't think along those lines because it's the grind. It's the work that you don't want to do.
It is. And then everybody is not at a point where you could pay somebody to do that. Or
True.
Is it not a task that you want to delegate? I think that's hard for me too.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that. How is that? This was your baby. So how has it been, sharing that?
Hard. And it's a continuous struggle. I don't know. I think a lot of times you want to give it up for someone else to do, but then you think about all the what could happen. Mm-hmm. It's just a challenge. It's a challenge. It's a continuous challenge for me because I don't have a big operation. So I say it's not big. It probably look more a little bit bigger than it is.
It looks on the outside looking in. It does.
Like I said, it's only 4 of us it's 3 of us in the store. So it's hard. I give up what I can and I have to figure out the rest. But I know like at some point, even with like the social media, I would like to have somebody to come in and assist with that. But it's just, I don't know. That's hard. It's hard. And then finding people to do stuff. I mean, it's always somebody out there that can do what you need, but then it's just, you got to find, I guess that's just business in general, find people that mesh with the culture that you have going on.
Yeah.
Because
not everyone fits in.
No.
Yeah, not everyone fits in, especially if, with your situation being close knit, you don't want someone to come in and, disrupt that or be that one standoffish person that makes everyone else uncomfortable. You feel like you're walking on eggshells. I get it. I get it. So what has been the one thing that in your mind you think you should delegate out, but you haven't been able to or you don't think you will be able to let go?
Probably the marketing, social media, the marketing aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point I will. Maybe not fully, maybe partially.
Okay.
I don't know how to take myself out of the equation. Because I still feel like at some point I still got to touch some stuff.
Yeah. Because again, that's your baby.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Like people ask now, what is your exit strategy? I don't know. I don't have one.
Yeah, but not everyone plans to exit. Some folks,
But I hear it a lot.
Yeah.
Like from just in business conversations, podcasts, and stuff like that. Exit strategies. And I guess I was like, I didn't know I was supposed to have one. So I don't know what my exit strategy is. I'm just here. I'm here for it.
I think that's a good thing, though. It could be. Yes. I am a glass half full person. So, okay. And I look at like the Waltons, Walmart. Should they have had an exit strategy, a few years into their business? It wouldn't be what it is today.
Right.
Or Bezos with Amazon. Should he have had an exit strategy? You should in case things are going wrong. But, I don't plan for failure,
Right.
So if it's a plan to sell your business, of like if one day you think that you would want to sell it, I get that. But,
But then what would I do? I don't know.
You come up with the next big thing. But if this is your thing and you want to stick with it,
yeah,
I don't necessarily believe it's a bad thing.
I think about making it maybe better and bigger more than the exit strategy.
Yeah.
Like what can I do next, or what is the next? And I think that's one of the hard questions now. What is the next?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? What do you like to do? What do you want to invest in? What are you
passionate about is what I ask.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like now for me it's like I said, I'm not a designer, but I would be very interested in the production. Mm-hmm. Maybe a pink sky line or of something.
Shoes. Just thought.
That's a good. You thinking big. That's a big thought. So yeah, I don't know. I think that would be like my next thing.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to, it wouldn't be leaving what I'm already doing. It would just add to the brand.
I'm gonna bill you for that, by the way. Just if I see a pink sky shoe in about the next 2 to 5 years, just know an invoice is coming.
Now, I would like, from a personal standpoint, to figure out how to be a collaborator with some of the brands, but that has nothing to do with Pink Sky per se. But
that's a good one too.
That would be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good personal goal.
I think that's good to have. A lot of people, you work on your goals. When you work at a corporate, every year you have to do your goals for the year, 3 or 4, whatever. And a lot of women do it. You guys have your vision boards and stuff, which is cool. Men don't think along those lines for some reason, in their personal lives.
Right.
So I think that that's a good thing to have, is that, these are my goals for the year and I want to hit this by, and something you hold yourself accountable to or have someone hold you accountable to. So that's a good one, I think, to help build out your business or move on to the next thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Pink Sky will probably have some type of I started working on an athleisure type line, but it's not finished. But I think that would be a good transition. And then I've met with some young ladies from Kenya, and I think they have kind of opened my eyes up to what you could do. So I don't know. You probably may see some branded Pink Sky items coming out.
That's what's
sometime.
up. I will look for it. I wish you the best with it.
I'll let you know. I said, Dr. Jermaine, look at these Pink Sky jackets and these track suits. And I have a lot of men that come into the store with their wives, and they're always asking for, when are you going to do a Pink Sky men's line?
I was about to ask that, honestly. Have you thought about that?
No, because I go over to the men's section when I go to Magic in Las Vegas, which is one of the bigger apparel trade shows here. It's just as difficult in the men's department as it is in the women's department.
I believe it.
Just as many vendors, just as many style. You know, you don't really think about styles. Like, I feel like y'all are different from us.
How so? I mean, in what regards to style?
Like your sweater. Like, we would want the sweater with the appliques, 30 different colors. Like, y'all just be like, let me get that black blue or that baby blue, and then I'll take.
I'm going to tell you that I'm being very conservative right now because of the show.
Okay.
In my, yeah.
So yeah, it was. I walked through and I was like, oh, this isn't any better than the women's. It's just as many vendors to choose from, just as many styles. You know, I was like, And you got to have a place, so I would need a bigger location. I don't have room. I'm running very lean at the moment. My space is only like 900 square feet. So,
where's it located? We didn't touch on that.
I am in we call it Glenwood Park, which is in Grant Park.
Okay.
So I'm here in Atlanta in Glenwood Park, the Grant Park area, and we're actually on the Beltline. So
you got a lot of foot traffic.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot of foot traffic, and it's interesting because it's almost like the Beltline came up around us. I didn't realize it when I moved over there that this was the Beltline, but like they cut off half of our street to build the biking lanes for the Beltline. So that was a big push to make these live-work communities, and I'm in like a live, work, probably walking community, that Glenwood Park area. So it's good.
Good stuff.
It's good. I can't complain at all.
Okay.
It was a good choice. It's actually when I thought that I was ready to move into retail space, I looked in that area, and then I talked myself out of it. I wasn't ready. And then when I had to find a space, I went back to that location, and that's where I ended up getting my space.
So let me ask you a question before we go into like the final stuff. The
Okay.
last, when you doubted your ability to do the retail space, and then you had to do it, you ever look back and think you could have made it work before? Was it that necessity that pushed you, or
I think it was the necessity that pushed me. I think it was the financial part that made me doubt. Like, my mom is a credit pusher. Like, don't do stuff to mess up your credit. And I was like, if I mess up paying rent or bills on a retail space, it's gonna affect me, and you don't want to do that. So my big thing was the financial part of it. What if I can't pay the rent? What am I gonna do? And that really scared me a lot, the financial part. Because even now I look at the cost of retail, and it's kind of scary in a sense now because a lot of people are closing down brick and mortar spaces, but it's expensive.
Did you use your personal credit or business credit to get your retail space?
I had to do my personal. I could do your tax ID, but I still had to be the guarantor of for the space. So which means it still would fall back on me. But I feel like I always kind of looked at myself like the tortoise in the race, the tortoise in the hare. I was the tortoise. I made real small. I took my time to get where I needed to go, opposed to trying to jump into something very quickly. So that tortoise, it took me a minute to get to the retail space, but when I got there, I really didn't have to struggle because I felt like I was ready. And I had a group of customers that was ready for me to be there. And I feel like it's been the same. I feel like COVID was the only thing that kind of shook me up, but like really, it hasn't been like a struggle for me. I've had good customers, good word of mouth. You know, you always have a random crazy Google review, but like for the most part, my word of mouth has been good. And then I don't even really do any real advertising or pay advertising. So I'm like, what if you even get to that level where you start doing that? You're taking it to a whole nother level. But I've been all right.
Okay.
I think you just have to build, some people could just jump in it and go for it and do it, but I think that building process will take you, it'll take you a little bit longer to get where you're trying to go, but it'll sustain you more than just jumping into something very quickly.
Right. Okay. So last round of tips, and then we'll give, all of your socials and everything where folks can find you. What would you, based on your journey, what would you recommend to a potential entrepreneur, not necessarily just in retail, but just in general? They are tired of making other people rich. They're tired of, not having the time to make it to their kids' games or to be able to travel as they want. So they want to strike out on their own. What lessons have you learned that they can apply to whatever it is that they want to do? So one of the good ones you said was, the tortoise race and,
Yes.
take your time in setting yourself up. What else could you recommend?
It don't stop when you have your own business. Like, I think that's one of the things that people say, oh, I'll have freedom to do this. Well, it's freedom not working at the 9 to 5, but then you're working for yourself. So I don't have a lot of down. I'm always go, 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 go. Now, at some point, you can get to a place where you're not like that. But you're not working for somebody, but you're grinding just as hard for yourself. So those freedoms that I think I can do this. No, it'll probably be the same amount of time that you had when you were working for somebody else, but you're just doing it for yourself, so you feel a little bit better about it. But yeah.
Yeah, because my schedule sucks. It does, but because I'm working for me,
it feels better.
I don't feel, but I can also work for me in Costa Rica. So,
right.
So it's not, I don't feel like I have to, I guess, play the politics game
right.
in someone else's office.
Right.
So that's the one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I get the time thing.
Yeah, the time thing, it just feels better because it's for you opposed to somebody else. So I don't know. My thoughts are kind of different. They're not negative, but I just feel like you're gonna work harder or just as hard. It's just for you.
Yeah.
So.
But then there's an upside to that because it's yours.
It's yours.
And no one can say, you know what, we're gonna restructure things and let you go.
Right.
So it's still, you
just like, okay, I got to figure out how I could do this in a different way. So I guess you're more in control of your time and your time and your situation more so than somebody else controlling it. But you still have to grind just as hard.
And the grind.
And it don't stop.
Yeah, and it doesn't. But I've never been one to mind the grind when it's mine. When
right.
it's I'm doing this for me, something I could pass down to my kids or, whatever the case
right.
may be. So Okay.
Just have to keep grinding
True.
for yourself.
Very true. All right. So you have to set up a Chase the Ambition page, because I'm going to tell everyone, they could find you on Chase the Ambition, but also where else can everyone find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Pink Sky Boutique, Facebook at Pink Sky Boutique. We do have a small TikTok presence, but it would be also at Pink Sky Boutique. And our website is pinkskyboutique.com.
Okay.
And
You want to give the address of the shop too?
In the shop. You can come see us at 880 Glenwood Avenue, and that's Suite D. And we're in Atlanta, Georgia, and the zip code is 30316.
All right. I really appreciate you doing the show with me today.
Thank you.
This is a lot of good information. Hopefully people can apply it to their businesses.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, again, Christi Hector, Dr. Jermaine Kimball. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Have a good one.